I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Before the season started, usually I do an episode or video where I'm trying to create what I believe to be the standings for this next season. And sometimes I hit gold. Sometimes the year the Sacramento Kings was lighting the beam, it was me that was like, this team looks decent, and I'm believing in them. I ain't had them being, I think they were the 3 seed, right? They were the 3-6 matchup versus the Warriors this season. I didn't have them being that high, but I was like, this is a playoff team for the first time in almost 20 years. And there's also years like last year, I was like, the Clippers are trash, and they won 50 games. And this year, I didn't do it for a lot of different reasons, family, yada, yada, yada. But I look back and think to myself, if I were going to do that, where the hell would I put the 76 before the season started? Because there's a conversation for them to be one of the 4 best teams in the Eastern Conference, but it's also a conversation for them to be number 10, number 11, maybe. And right now, according to the standings, they're at number 5. It's always fluctuating. The difference between the 4 seed and the 8th seed right now is a game. So, like, I don't know, by the time this episode comes out, who knows? They might be down or they might be up. But they have put together a couple great wins, and they've been able to stay afloat. We did the episode about the vibe ratings like 2 weeks ago. We were talking about how the 76ers have one of the best vibes of basketball because this entire season feels like found money. And that is the case. But for the first time for the entire season, they look like a really healthy and competent, complete team. All of their guys have been healthy, and over the last couple of days, they got their first wins with Maxey, VJ, PG, and Joel Embiid all on the court together, which is something I think they were 0-2 before that, and since then they've won like 2 or 3 games or so. And it's starting to like forgetting about the history, forgetting about yada, yada, yada. If you were to look at the 76er team with no prior references, you would say, hey, this team looks like a team that can be, let me chill. But there's a couple reasons why I feel that way, right? I'm not going to say that I believe that they're going to win the Eastern Conference. I'm not even saying that they're in contention to do such a thing. But I do believe that this is going to be a team that once we get down to the playoffs, assuming health, which is maybe the toughest thing you can assume, but a 76er team, assuming health, this is a team that I feel like you should be finagling your standards to stay away from. Because they got a little bit of everything, a lot. I want to start off with the head of the snake, which now is Tyrese Maxey. Listen, Joel Embiid, go get your flowers because you have been amazing since you came back from that short, like 4-game span where you were missing out. He's got 22s and 6s. He's got 36 and 9s. He's been phenomenal playing on the floor of the offense. But even Joel Embiid will tell you straight up, this is Tyrese Maxey's team. And I feel that way. See, me and producer Greg talked about this before the calendar turned around because he was at a game where he was watching the 76ers play against the Golden State Warriors. And we were just talking about how kind of unfair Tyrese Maxey is as an offensive guy, where he's too fast for you. But if you decide that you want to play off of him because of his speed, he is one of the best 3-point shooters in all of basketball. And the reason why Tyrese Maxey has, let me make sure I can look at these stats really quick, because I remember his series, of course, versus the 76ers a few years back and how electric that was. One of the reasons why he kind of shows himself to be a guy that can perform well in the playoffs is basically that, him being able to put the downhill pressure on him and then also be able to hit that shot if you're trying to play for him. You play a little bit too high, you play a little bit too tight, boom, he's getting downhill. And he just has been putting together the best season of his career. I think you can have a real conversation, especially if the 65-game rule is a thing, that Tyrese Maxey can be an all-NBA first-team guy. He's averaging 31, 7, and 4.5 on 47, 40, and 88. I don't know how much better you can get. Like you can have a legitimate conversation about Tyrese Maxey being an all NBA first team player. I don't know if he's going to end up that way, but I'm just giving him his flowers, however many games into the season. He has been the complete engine to this team. But it's not just him, because they do got the engine is Maxey and the generator is V.J Edgecomb. V.J Edgecomb had a little stretch where it's like, I mean, every rookie goes to this. I just saw Jason Kidd talking about this with Cooper Flagg last night, that you don't want to you want to feel the rookie wall. He had a quote that was like, hey, yo, but VJ had a couple games, and it literally ended up being like a 3-game stretch. You're like, okay, rookie wall. Since then, 25, 4, and 6, 23, 5, and 4. And these 4s I mentioned are steals, by the way. And then yesterday versus the New York Knicks, genuinely looked like the second best player on the court, only behind Tyrese Maxey. A game against Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and so on and so forth. He had 26-4, and he had a sequence in this game. Well, I'm sure you've seen it over social media, where he hustles back on defense, blocks a Mikal Bridges corner 3 that gets down to the other side of the floor, finishes, and he has a possession like that, or Superman or video game possession every single game. And VJ, again, I'm not that high into the college basketballs of the world. We did do a specific draft coverage, so I had to lock in a little bit more compared to previous seasons. The fact that he is shooting 38% from three on 6 attempts as a rookie, given that in college, let me see, he shot 34% on not great volume, is insane. And it felt like when he started off, when he was dropping the most points by rookie debut, whatever it ended up being, it was like, nah, this ain't sustainable. There's no way he can go out there and shoot this well from three the entire time. And it has dropped at least a little bit, but him being 38%, again, similar to what we talked about from Tyrese Maxey, being that athletic and that bouncy and being able to hit this shot. Now, this is going to be a shot that once we get to a postseason series, whatever team they're going against, they're going to give VJ all of these shots because he is a rookie in his first playoff series. And again, though we have now 29 games of him shooting 38%, I'm sure when it comes to the scout report, you're going to prioritize Max, you're going to prioritize Joel Embiid. If that means that the rookie has to beat us in a 7-game series, you're going to live with that. So he's going to have to make these in the postseason. But the fact that he's able to do this right now is just electric. And they just, I don't know, man. It's so amazing. If you look past the salaries of them all, the pay grades of them all, Paul George is looking fine. He's looking good. Now, he ain't looking like the $50 million player, but I think that's okay in the right now because one of the things, I don't want to blame it on a single player. Damn, I don't want to blame it on a single player because it's not a single player. But one thing that Paul George has been able to do is fill that fourth option thing better than, let's just say, any other player they've had in the previous Joel Embiid regimes. I'm not going to say no names. I'm not going to mention nothing else other than saying that Paul George in that game versus the New York Knicks, I watched Paul George, who at this point in his career, you could tell me he's 42 and I believe you, but Paul George fought through and over screens as if this was an NBA Finals game. The 35, almost 36-year-old was really out there playing defense as if he was back in OKC when he finished top 3 in defense. Now, the impact won't be that way because he's lost a little bit of his athleticism and so on and so forth. But to have a guy, again, he's making a lot of money, have a guy that can be the fourth most important player offensively and fight that hard, I got to give Paul George his flowers because when you are one of the top paid guys and you are a guy that's made all NBAs and all defensives and was top 3 in MVP, really recognizing that in this situation on this team in your later age, your role is going to shift. It's hard to do. We've seen some of the greatest players, I won't say fall out of the league, but fall out of grace with many teams because they couldn't personally accept the fact that they were a declining player or that they are not the player that they used to be. Paul George has been able to accept that, and he's averaging a 16, 5.5, and 3. He had that 136-point game against Atlanta. I think they lost that game, though. But Paul George has been basically what they need, which is crazy because when they signed him, they didn't think we need you to be the fourth best player on the team. They needed him to be the guy and one of the guys, the second guy, I guess. And he has not been that, but I think that's okay. What's that money on like that? Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid and me have a checkered past. Now, shout out to Joel Embiid. He's always been a friend of mine. But there was a time last season, I think it was, where he had a game and he got ejected from that game. And I had a one, two, three. I had a 3-word tweet that went viral on NBA Twitter that says, I'm sorry, 4 words. I can't count. Done with Joel. It was just that simple. No other context involved. And that grew legs and it, again, went viral on it. And everybody, Joel Embiid included, knows that I have no ill will to Joel Embiid. And this season, one of my favorite things about Joel Embiid, even though, again, he looks like he's laboring sometimes and so on and so forth, him playing in the flow of the offense is at a whole nother level, if you ask me. Obviously, we know Joel Embiid can be a guy that can average 30 points per game. He did it like 4 years of the last like 6 or something. But him playing within it and then still being able to like late in the games, you're like, oh yeah, I'm being guarded by Huck Porty or just making up some guy. And I can still get my own. It's just so great. And I'm hoping that the way they're managing his minutes and they're managing his load for the entirety of the season can get it so that once we come to the postseason, he will be actively ready to give them 30 to 35 games and, you know, a full win. The best thing that I've seen Joel Embiid do this season is not even something that happened on the court as far as like his overall stat line, but in that game versus the Grizzlies, I think he played almost 40 minutes and they won that game and it was great. And I just want Joel Embiid to be healthy for an entire playoff run because I think that this 76er team is going to be a really, really tough out.